And reconvene into open session. Go ahead and get started here. Ms. Mayfield, can we get a roll call?
Absolutely. President Aguilar,
Present?
Vice President Oshinsky, Board Clerk Tate, Trustee Gonzalez, Trustee Prola, Trustee Sheridan,
Present.
Trustee Toledo, Student Board Member Amaya Proctor. All board members and student board member present.
All right, thank you. And right before I move on, briefly just want to welcome our student board member to the board. This is her first meeting. We're very happy to have you. You'll have an opportunity to talk about yourself and your student board member report, but just welcome to roll call. All right, a report on closed session action. The Board of Education took no action in closed session. We'll move to the pledge. Trustee Oshinsky, would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you. Okay, tonight, Trustee Toledo, would you please read us our mission statement?
The mission of the San Leandro Unified School District is to educate students to achieve academic excellence in order to become confident, collaborative, and engaged citizens in a community rich in heritage and diverse in culture, where we value our traditions and embrace innovation.
Thank you. Trustee Tate, would you read our equity statement? No problem.
Board of Trustees believes that the diversity that exists among the district's community of students, staff, parents, guardians, and community members are integral to the district's vision, mission, and goals. Addressing the needs of the most marginalized learners requires recognition of the inherent value of diversity and acknowledgement that educational excellence requires a commitment to equity in the opportunities provided to the students and the resulting outcomes.
Thank you. Moving into the approval of the agenda. Trustees, if there are no changes to the agenda, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, the agenda has been moved by Trustee Oshinsky, seconded by Trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. You as a +1. Okay. All right, and that goes 7+1. Thank you. Moving into the legal statement before our public testimony. Members of the audience who wish to address the board are asked to complete the yellow card available at the entrance and submit it to the board's executive assistant. Speakers who have completed the card will be called when the item is reached on the agenda or for non-agenda items during the public testimony. Cards are to be turned in before the item is reached on the agenda. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. State law prohibits the Board of Education from taking any action on or discussing items that are not on the posted agenda except to A, briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public in attendance, B, ask questions for clarification, C, provide a reference to a staff member or other resource or factual information in response to the inquiry, or D, ask a staff member to report back on the matter at the next meeting and or put it on a future agenda. Government Code 54954.2A. So then moving right into public testimony on non-agenda items, is there any speaker cards? Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Being that there are no public testimony, we'll move right into our first school report. Trustee, I mean, not trustee, Mr. McLaughlin, would you like to introduce this one? No, you're good. School report.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's, okay, so that's.
I misread it.
No, so, so anyways, so as I told you last time, we'll have a rotation, so this is a busy week for them starting off, so I'm gonna have them start in September. So I will send out to you, Ms. Mayfield, well, the schools that'll be there.
Okay, moving into the bond report, Director Aaron Kerrigan.
Good evening, board members. I'll keep it real short this evening since I just did one about 2 weeks ago. So not a bunch of stuff has changed, but certainly made some significant strides. At McKinley, the shade structure is complete. The whole area around it is complete with the exception of a few items. So that's why they still have the fencing up around it. But probably this weekend, they'll be removing that for full use and access. Mirrors doing well. They're in the process right now of putting the windows in as well as the doors. So they're going to have this, weather tight building here very, very shortly. And then they'll just continue to work on the inside. Most of the asphalt work around it is done. It was done before school started. So it's looking really good over there. The high school is moving along pretty fast too, with the expected completion of around the week of the 5th of September. So currently they're still pouring some concrete, and there's some plantings left to do. They've already planted quite a bit over there too. So if you get a chance to kind of go over there and peek through one of the windows, you'll see some major changes there. And Bancroft, some good news on that actually today. We just got a phone call from East Bay Mud, and they're going to come during the Labor Day holiday. So they've expedited their schedule quite a bit so that we can get water on and we can get everything planted. And once the water's on, we can go ahead and plant the trees and all the other plants. So that concludes my bond update for this evening. If anybody's got any questions for me.
Great, thank you. First in the queue, Trustee Oshinsky.
Just a quick question. Is it possible that I drove by Bancroft the other day and I was on the committee that did when we were shown the different versions of it, but I don't remember the version that was picked and if that looks like it or not. I'm old and I forget.
The concept drawings?
Yeah. Can you show us those versus what it is today at some point?
Yeah, I can send them to you if you'd like. And
that'd be great.
I think the only difference that we had was after some comments from the city,
Right.
was that I think on the opposite side of the turnaround where the parking is, they had us eliminate some of the parking places there. But that was the only difference between the final drawing. So other than that, it's pretty much, but I'm happy to send it to you for sure.
And specifically the front of the school, the entrance, I think that's where I had a question. I don't remember it being like the way it is. Of course, that was like 2 years ago. We had that
Right.
committee.
Yeah,
I think when
that-
you see the bushes and everything down there, it'll
That'll
all
probably make a
kind of come
difference
in
too.
because
Yeah.
I had the same thing, but then when I went back, looked at the pictures. So when all that stuff gets in, look good.
But I'll shoot them on over to you for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Good job, Aaron. I was so impressed with all the construction teams and everybody was good. So
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Trustee Sheridan.
Aaron, I want to thank you for your report. Question I have is number of these modulars for replacing.
Mhm.
And do you have a number of the modulars that have been replaced?
I think it was roughly 50 under measure J1.
Mm.
And then we've got 9 at Muir right now and 4 that we just did at Bancroft. So there's another 13 on top of that. So 63-ish.
And for the most part, we're not replacing these with other modulars. We're going back in with stick built, right?
Well, they're technically called modular building. And then I think there's a designation between modular and portable. And we got rid of the portables and added the modulars to it.
Okay.
But very, very much like stick built.
Right. Very much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm just keep taking people's places. There's not that many people that are doing the stick anymore, are they?
No, there's still
doing
a fair
I see
number.
more modular, it seems like unions are pushing it. Okay.
Yeah. Like, well, the gym's going to be full stick built.
Yeah.
Trustee Prola.
This is probably a dumb question, but what happens to those? I mean, do the modulars just stay forever or?
Yeah, those are permanent, 100-year buildings. Whereas the portable buildings are built to last 20 to 25 years. So you get a lot more life out of them.
So any place that we have modulars, they're going to stay now.
Yes, yes. Permanent foundations.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, moving into our presentations for the evening. First up is San Leandro Unified Local Indicators presentation. Thank you. That would be Director Joanne Clark.
He's taking over. Hi, good evening, board, Dr. McLaughlin, cabinet. My name is Joanne Clark. I'm the Senior Director of Educational Services, and I'm here to present to you tonight the Local Indicator Report. The goals of tonight is to explain the LCFF local indicators, also give you the report from the 2021-22 school year on our local data, and understand the next steps of the local control funding formula priorities. So just as a review, local indicators. For local control funding formula, which we call LCFF, priorities where data is not collected at the state level, an LEA, us, the district, will measure and report its progress through the dashboard based on locally collected data. Specifically, the purpose of the local indicator report, which is attached tonight as an action item, reflects the emphasis of local control. Helps to create a seamless accountability process throughout the state and local levels, and important for the community to understand the whole story of a district. Ooh, let's see here. Just click. Okay, we'll do the end one. There we go. Okay, technology here. Even brought my glasses in case something happens where I can't read something. The LCFF priority areas. So this slide here shows the 8 priority areas that we collect data on. 1 is basic conditions of schools. 2, implementation of state academic standards. 3 is parent engagement. 4, student achievement. 5, student engagement. 6 is our local climate survey. 7, access to broad course of study, and 8, outcomes in a broad course of study. So specifically, all 8 of these is one system of connected resources and supports that we provide in the district. Just a little note, priority 1, 2, and 7 fall under the conditions of learning for public schools. Priority 3, 5, and 6 fall under engagement, and priority 4 and 8 fall under the category of student outcomes. Okay, so tonight's presentation is on the following 5. As we know that the data that's released by the state under the Smarter Balanced Assessment will be the other 2 indicators. So local indicator priority 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, I'll explain them now, were all met by San Leandro Unified School District for the 2021 school year. 21-22, sorry, I'm behind a year. So here we go. Priority 1 provides all students with access to fully credentialed teachers in their subject area, as well as instructional materials that align to state standards and safe, properly maintained facilities. That all falls under priority number 1. Priority number 2 of implementing state and academic standards, our school district ensures our school programs and services enable all students, including English learners, to access the academic content and performance standards, including our Common Core standards in math and ELA and science. Priority number 3, our parent engagement, are efforts by the school and the district for schools to seek input from all parents and to engage parents in decision-making, as well as promoting parent participation in programs that meet the needs of their students and as well all students. Priority number 6 is our local climate survey that we do each year. And this is about factors that both inside and outside of this classroom impact student success, such as health, safety, student discipline, student connectedness, as measured by suspension and expulsion rates, and surveys that we collect through the California Healthy Kids Survey. And then 7 is our access to broad course of study. We also met this, and this is ensuring all students have access to a broad course of study in all the required subject areas, including math, science, social science, visual and performing arts, health, PE, career, technical education, and others that all provide them access to college and careers. There we go. So just a little summary. The report again is attached tonight as an action item. I'll summarize in the next few slides our data that has brought us to the conclusion of meeting this requirement for the LCFF priority formula, priority report. So basic conditions at school, 89.7% of our teachers in SLUSD are fully credentialed and properly assigned, just as a comparison to 83.1% statewide. And again, this information is coming from our 21-22 STARK information. Only 4.6 teachers are misassigned. And this also is with teachers that are also being assigned to teach maybe a different content area than their credential, as well as the top, as you know, in this last school year, bringing in long-term substitutes, also ensuring that all classrooms were filled during a time of shortage has, those numbers are showing that a little bit here. All school facilities were rated exemplary on the facility inspection tool. Each year we do a Williams inspection with the facilities and they all met exemplary status. Thank you, Aaron and his team. And then all students have access to standard aligned instructional materials. Each school site is ensuring all students have access to the core. The next priority is implementation of state academic standards. We conduct a local survey and ranked as full implementation of the state subsections, which again is in the report that's attached tonight. We have improved student access and teacher professional learning in all curricular areas. That was in the survey responses that it improved. Social science and history implementation is still slightly behind math and ELA. And also the survey results that due to COVID-19 and due to the last year and a half, it reduced a lot of the professional learning opportunities in the last year, sorry. And the next slide of parent engagement ranked as full implementation of all state subsections. Communication, these were some highlights. Communication and engagement in advisory committees is a strength of SLUSD. But still the data also showed that we are looking to seek opportunities for further coordinating site and district efforts to engage families, and particularly around the academic awareness, more opportunities to engage in those sessions with the district and the school site. And then school climate. Again, this is our data here from our California Healthy Kids Survey. We administer that each year, even though by the state guidelines, you're supposed to administer it every other year. We administer it every year to collect this data, to look at trends. And here in our data, you'll see how many students this last year took the survey. And then really what we noticed is school engagement is the highest in elementary schools. And we're noticing still a social emotional well-being is the area of future of attention. And that we have noticed that there's some bullying decrease from middle school to high school. I was a middle school principal, I was a high school principal, so I kind of understand where that's kind of coming from, but that was what our data also showed us. And then here's our last priority, access to a broad course of study. All our elementary students have access to board approved standards aligned course materials, as well as all of our elementary students have access to PE. All high school course subjects are A through G UC approved. 46 of our Sandlander High School courses are career technical education courses with the actual CTE credentialed teacher. And we have offer over 21 advanced placement courses. Specifically to note, Sandlander High School has over 181 currently on the UC approved A through G list. The only courses at Sandlander High School that are not A through G approved is physical education, as they are not, and a couple of our intervention and tiered intervention courses that offer students extra support either through their IEP or through special intervention classes. So it's really exciting to know that all course access is A through G, that's in the core. And then Lincoln High also has an A through G, 10 of their classes are A through G approved. And again, that's all their core classes at Lincoln. And I think that's and then, yeah, if there would be any questions, I can take them now.
All right, Trustee Prola.
Sorry. One of the things you mentioned was that the social studies, all the others, why is that?
So that was the access to full implementation of the state standards. So the surveys showed that we've progressed more in providing professional development in math and ELA to the Common Core standards. And there's still a need to offer more professional learning in the history, social science standards.
Joanne, can I jump in here? The reason why it's below the average for what it is for math and ELA and history, social science and science is because we have brand new adoptions. So whenever you have a brand new adoption, you have certain professional learning that the teacher should go through each year to learn the curriculum, integrate it with intervention support, build their own assessments. And so just because we're in year 2, that's where we had to self-report. So we self-reported that we know that there's still more work to do just because we technically have to take teachers through that 3-year cycle. And that's because we have a new adoption.
I guess one of the questions I had was, at one point, it seemed to me that the teachers, the high school teachers, or somebody was kind of doing their own curriculum for social studies. And is that still true? And was that dealt with?
No, they're using our new adoptions. What's different is that our elementary teachers developed their own social studies curriculum in conjunction with working with the UC Davis History Project. That was elementary.
Okay, Trustee Oshinsky.
Thank you for your presentation. I know there's a lot of work that went into this, and so thank you to everyone who was a part of it. For me, it's a snapshot of the effect of COVID on learning. I mean, looking at the data on achievement, it looked like Swiss cheese. There's so much information that's missing. It's a shame that, we'll never be able to recover that. So just one really quick question. Is parent engagement really increasing?
Yeah, so the surveys is stating the efforts and the approach that we take to encourage all of our parents to engage. So again, it's an LEA's self-reflection survey is to ensure that we're offering multiple opportunities in different venues for our parents to engage. And then the parent feedback is through our sessions from the Family Learning Series. We take the data from their site coffee chats and their ELACs and SSC meetings, but we're evaluating ourselves on, are we offering it? Are we ensuring a well-rounded approach to ensure our parents are engaged?
The fact that 1,400 parents took the survey speaks a lot to the work that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Okay, further questions? Great.
Thank you very much.
Next up, measure and update issuance of Series B and Series C. Dr. Kevin Collins.
Here we go. Well, good evening, everyone. I want to briefly give you an update on issuance of Measure N, Series B and C. If you remember, Measure N is a $198 million bond measure that was passed by our voters in March of 2020. Before we get into the actual series itself, I'm going to talk to you about the history of the district in terms of assessed valuation. Assessed valuation is very important for issuing bonds because the higher the valuation, the lower your tax rate. And here's a history going back to 2001, a 20+ year history. You can see that over the last 3 years, it's almost a 12%. I think it's 11.5% growth in assessed valuation. Remember at the beginning of COVID, we didn't think that would be the case, but certainly property values, valuation, number of turnover, and then the value of properties has gone up since then. So there's a history. You can see from 2001 through about 2009, a very nice, straight, predictable line there all through the 2000s. But a couple of things I want to point out here. One is that from 2009 onwards, you see the effects of the recession, the dip, the negative assessed valuation that went on in the district. And it wasn't until 2014, 5 years later, that the assessed valuation came back. There's another little issue that I want to point out in 2015, which is a negative value right there, unexpected. And what that we've talked about before is the Kaiser property was reassessed, and it had to wait until it was completed till the county would reassess it into a nonprofit status. So it's one single very large property being assessed that brought that valuation down. And the final one, a little bit unexpected, is in 2022. You see that 1.95%. Normally, under Prop 13, if everything were just standing still and no sales and prices weren't going up, you'd see a 2% increase just based on that sort of statutory amount. 1.95%, a little bit of a head scratcher on that. We would have expected higher. We think it was an effect, likely an impact of COVID on just people in the assessor's office working remotely, some of the procedures there and things going slower. But you see the next year comes back with that 5.06. And then because of the way that this times, this is all early data that feeds into each year, would expect another big number coming up for effectively 2024, according to the sheet. So there's a 5-year average, 10-year average, and a 20-year average, all well above 4%. What you'll see is about a 3.5% or 3.5% assumed valuation increase built into our models here, which is, you know, fairly conservative for it. You'll see other districts do different things with that. I want to talk about interest rates because we've certainly gotten accustomed to low interest rates over the past years. Here we are going back to about 2008, last 14 years. You can see a fairly straight line with some noise on it up and down. We started at almost 6%. At the low point in the summer of 2021, we saw just a little bit above 1%. Obviously, inflation, Fed adjustments, everything feeds into this. Doesn't it directly affect these municipal bond rates, but they certainly have an impact. And you see that rates have gone up to about 3%. Now that's in the short term. If you have like a 2-year window, that seems really high. But if you have a longer window, yeah, that's about half of what they were when we started this process. So it's not bad. It's just not as good as it was. And we kind of have to just remember that sort of a customization when you get really good numbers and then they go up a little bit. I want to show you here a possible scenario for how bonds would be issued. If you look here at Series A, we said March of 2020 was when the election was held. In June of 2020, we issued our first series, Series A, that was just under $75 million. And to be clear, we still have an awful lot of those dollars left. We have done a lot of projects. We've talked about Bancroft Field, the modulars, the San Leandro High School quad, all of the elementary shade shelters. We've done some really quality projects here, but we're also looking at groundbreaking very soon for some other major projects, a $26 million new Lincoln campus, a San Leandro High School gym project of, budgeted at 55, knock on wood, we'll see what it comes in at. Also classroom building following that at San Leandro High School, and some other plans there. So I would say we have a little bit over $50 million still cash on hand, but with all of those big expenses coming and with some of those sort of unknowns in the market, we want to make sure that we are in a place where we don't jam ourselves and have to, stop work or look at other sort of, funding mechanisms to do these bonds. So these are, the proposal is going to be current interest bonds, a little bit on the early side, but it gives us some leeway if something were to go haywire with the market at this point. So that was Series A happened. Series B and C is what we're looking at right now. October 2022, $75 million construction bond and another $5 million tech bond. And you can see the terms of those and then the ratios 1.99 to 1 for the construction bond and 1.06 to 1 for the short-term technology bond. The other two, I'm going to click here and show you some green cells here. This, I'm going to make it clear, is not in our proposal today for the D&E. I want to just show you that our consultant wants to make sure that everything fits here, not just this step, but it's a little bit like playing chess. You got to look several steps down the road and make sure that, sort of if we were to, what's the earliest we could possibly need the additional dollars for Measure N, and that would be it. And we'll just do that to make sure that it fits in line and tax rates and everything fit within what they're supposed to. So the red is what we're looking at today, B and C only. Here is looking at how the bonds would be structured. Some things that we want to look at. $180 per $100,000 in assessed valuation has been our target to stay underneath. And we do that with these series. The gray here is all of our previous series. that still have outstanding payments. The red is Series A of Measure N. You can see how that is laid out over time. The two new ones, I'll call it peach or tan colored, is then Measure B, the additional $75 million, how that flows over time. And then the dark blue is the new tech bond. And you see how that stacks on top. And then, like we said, the two other potential D and E down the road, just to make sure that they fit within our plan here. I want to make sure that we don't get jammed on those. So that's the structure of what this would look like. Anytime you do a series, we want to look at the possibility of refinancing. Is there anything out there where we could save taxpayers some dollars? The need to refinance is really built into any 25, 30-year series, because those rates, those farther out rates are more expensive when you set up a bond. As you get closer and closer to those out years, you could always look at refinancing those for lower rates. In this case, these are our outstanding series, and we don't have anything that's callable at this point or really close to callable. The closest is August of 2023. We talked with the consultant about looking at that. And in this case, even including the sort of synergy that would come with doing these deals at the same time, it's really not worth it. It's the grand savings is about $2.50, $2.25 for the average homeowner in San Leandro. But it's important to remember, this isn't a take it or leave it deal either. We could always see what the rates are like in a year and then do the deal then if it makes sense for the taxpayers of San Leandro. Right. So that's it. So no refunding is the proposal at this point, with an average savings of 51 cents per $100,000. Here is the financing timeline, and it is subject to change. You'll see that starting tonight, August 23rd, we have the district board looking at an adoption of a resolution and a preliminary offer of sale. You can see over on the right-hand side, the same bond team that we used for a number of years, Dale Scott and Company, Piper, Jones Hall as Piper's the underwriter, and then Jones Hall as the attorney. So we would start off this week with bonds ratings calls and then go from there. Ideally, we'd close on October 6th and then have the funds available for the district after that. The next step in this is for the board to consider a resolution, and the resolution in 22-41 is in the packet tonight, along with that preliminary offer of sale and some other information for it that you've hopefully had time to read and reflect on. And that is the presentation for tonight. I want to see if you have any questions for me.
All right, starting with Trustee Sheridan.
Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for your presentation. I know when we first passed this bond measure, discussions and said, okay, this is probably going to keep us busy for the next 20 years. We probably won't see one in our terms, right? As efficient as Aaron is with these projects, we're getting these things knocked out. I mean, it looks like we're looking for the money sooner than we had anticipated, right? What's your feeling for the climate about the future, in the near future? Is it something that is on people's heads and their minds, and they're like, we might look at it? Or is it, no, we'll do these, we're done?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think what I would first and foremost say is I would defer to the board on that. When we are expediting the schedule, so as much as we did with J1, projects have really just gotten into a role of being able to get them, lining up the architect and the designing and the engineers and getting DSA approval and moving forward through construction. Really solid bond team with Aaron and RGMK. And a good team that's really been able to nail projects, bring them in on time, on budget. We've got some big ones coming up here to look at, and we'll have another $38 million after these issuance to look at. But we also know there's need as every day goes by. Our facilities are sitting there, and doors are opened and closed thousands of times, and windows and floors and all of the parts of buildings wear out. So there would always be a need for additional modernization that this, will be above and beyond this. So it would really be up to the board to want to look at that. What's the time frame for that? There's presidential elections coming up. Those would be a good time if we wanted to consider that. But again, really a board member something the board would want to look at.
You wimped out on that one, didn't you?
Right.
Sheesh.
You want to hear go
No,
for it?
no.
Well,
I would piggyback on what Kevin says is that I think as you see these projects go through, the big ones especially, you're always going to see something else you may want to look at. I mean, we hear all the time cafeterias and, are they big enough? But now we did the shade structures. So does that accommodate? Does growth happen? We keep hearing growth's coming. Do you need to add more modulars, things like that? So, you always set out a plan of attack, but of course, prices have gone up, other things have gone up. So they're awesome projects. So I would say this to you as a board is once a couple of these big projects are done, there's nobody that should be able to come to you and say that they don't have our trust to do to other stuff, because every project we've done is stellar and it's really improving the school district as a whole, which increases housing prices, the whole thing. So I don't think there's anything you can point back to and say that we shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? So I think you're building a good track record as you're going along that you should be able to pass another bond if you needed one at some point. So, but that's how I'm feeling. People are happy about the projects.
yeah,
So-
and if I could just echo what Dr. McLaughlin said is I think you build this brand new building and then you look at the building next to it, or you paint a building and we paint the walls, and then we look at the ceiling and we look at the floor, and there's always this sort of work brings more work for it. We have gone kind of fast. I think the two things that we sort of look at is with universal TK, the need for more TK rooms, which are not just regular classrooms. You don't put TK kids in, regular, 960 square foot classrooms. You need restrooms and appropriate restrooms and larger size and
When you put new
playgrounds.
things in, then people point out the other stuff.
and
Everybody
it-
goes, that's a neat looking quad, but oh God, it needs to be painted inside. And so, it's like,
And then the other one would be sort of, kitchens, even though we're doing some limited work at kitchens right now. I think our if we were to have, cafeterias and kitchens that were sort of meeting today's modern standards, I think those would be something to, potentially look at down the road for another administration, maybe.
yes, we will be attacking this in 5 years.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes, and actually, I was the one that said no bonds until after I leave, but then I was looking at the tech bond and going, our next tech bond is August of 25, which then it's like, okay, that's not very long before that tech needs to be refreshed. And so it made me start going, yeah, we need to be thinking longer term for tech, because I think those short-term bonds are really important for our community to have for the tech refresh. And then the bond rating was my second question. With COVID, we've been very stable as a district, so we should do well with bond ratings. But COVID, how is that going to impact our bond ratings?
Right. So in preparation for looking for the board's, consideration of the resolution tonight, we've been getting ready for the bond ratings presentations, and their questions have revolved around a couple things. One is, COVID funding, and they want to make sure that this district, as all districts, hear about the fiscal cliff, that we don't build our budgets on COVID dollars so that when the COVID dollars run out, you fall off a cliff, right? That's one thing that we're making choices where we can add these things and then scale down these things. The other one, we're in the situation with, like a lot of districts in California, where our reserves have increased the opposite of what we thought would happen, due to one-time funds, due to limited expenditures during distance learning and hybrid learning. The unfortunate side, having staffing problems is that we haven't been able to fill staff, but also haven't been paying salaries for some staff. So there's been some savings from things like that, other one-time dollars, one-time special ed dollars, one-time things that are not necessarily COVID funding, but where we've been getting some relief and be able to put in. So our ending fund balance has certainly increased, and that's one that should help when we look at the ratings agencies.
Trustee Tate.
I have a question that's about the high school gym. So how long is the timeline for that project? Are we projected that yet?
Yeah, for the San Leandro High School gym. So we have a link on the website of, our proposed start date now. And I think we're pushing that back to late fall / winter. We're having some issues around having to go back and look at the parking lot that was done several years ago, and that's sort of hanging up the DSA process now. It's going to be about a 2-year process, a 2-year construction process. Once they start building, digging for the new gym, and then get down to demolition of the old gym. And then remember, at that point, we're going to be looking at the addition of a classroom building, library building, probably on that where the gym is. Yeah, good question. So the San Leandro High School gym, as well as the classroom building, and then as well as the Lincoln campus, those were all included in the original Measure N budget that we presented early on as sort of, these are our needs, these are the major projects that we'd like to do. Those were all 3 very large projects. And in this era of, inflation, of sort of inflation on the labor side, inflation on the material side, there's an awful lot of material that goes into those buildings. And we're seeing the costs escalate on those from what we had originally anticipated a few years ago, but we're certainly managing that and looking for the best ways to be able to build what we want to build within our budget. But yeah, those 3, we fully anticipate to be able to build those 3 sort of keystone projects for the district.
Kevin, the classroom building it's not an absolute that we have to do that. Okay, remember that was one of our goals, that if everything works out right, we could build a new library, new classrooms, and then we could close San Leandro High and then turn FTK into something else. But if for some reason we because inflation hits up or whatever, then you got your gym done, you got plenty of classrooms with FTK in the model that works now. But remember, one of our goals was to not have the kids walking across the street anymore. And we were told that we'd get some more growth at some point. This was before the pandemic. So you're in a good spot because the main goal was the gym. So you're going to get that done and then kind of that's why we didn't sign a contract to do the other building right away. We wanted to make sure how things went with this. So, but
part of the ratings presentation that we're preparing is about the growth. And there is still a lot of growth. There's the Alvarado apartments are approved. The Marina project is still coming along. There is some growth that may have taken a little bit of a pause during COVID, but there is a number of construction projects anticipated for the city that are in the approval pipeline. So we do expect those to come in, along with, like we've talked about, the universal TK over the next 4 years. We expect, every year to get more TKs starting up, and you get those kids for 14 years.
It's that ongoing discussion of FTK.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do we do with FTK? I mean, it works, but if you can keep everybody on one campus, and help out the community and the neighbors, and then use it for some other purpose, which maybe our virtual academy and other things. And that's probably what we really want to do, but we'll see. Hopefully this inflation doesn't keep going.
Yeah. For everyone's sake.
For everyone's sake. There you go.
All right. Last call for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving right into the San Leandro Adult School rebranding presentation. Director Keziah Moss.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. McLaughlin, Cabinet. I am very excited to be here to present to you the logo redesign for the adult school. My name is Keziah Moss, and I am your Director of Community and Employee Engagement. And I want to preface with, I hate following Dr. Collins because he always has way more exciting presentation. But we are going to talk about logos. And also, before I get started, I want to put a huge appreciation, in case I neglect it, to Bradley Frazier, Rochelle Parham, Kathy Gamble, the entire team over at the adult school. We've been working on this for several months. And so they're, I know, excited to see what happens tonight. So we'll start with, this is their current logo, just to kind of keep in mind what we're moving through. So the background of why is this change needed? So tying into a lot of what Aaron was talking about and Dr. Collins, our bond work is really taking us into all of our schools to kind of see what needs to be refreshed and what needs to be changed. These are photos taken today over at the adult school, and it's one of our campuses that really has outward facing logos. It has an actual front to it. You can see they still have some of the old district logos on there as well. So this is a big piece of why this is moving forward. The school has wanted this for a little bit, and that's why it got moved to the forefront. Another really big reason why we're going through this change right now is we're looking to redesign the brochure to make it more user-friendly, to make it easier to search online, easier to register. This is a mass mailing that goes out twice a year to all of the residents in San Leandro. So it's kind of a perfect time if we're going to be redesigning the brochure. Let's take a look at the logo. So we're designing it around that. So I'm going to walk you a little bit through the process. We did a deep dive with Principal Frazier and the graphic artist myself, looking at other adult school logos across California, across the state, like get some ideas of some of the iconography that's being used, kind of thinking beyond the Bay Area in particular and get some inspiration. From that, we have been working with a graphic artist who did some hand drawings to get everything started so that we knew that we were using something that's going to belong to us. You'll notice in that first image that I brought up, we actually in the deep dive found that Gonzalez Adult School is using the current adult school logo that we have. So that was quite a little find that we had there. So we wanted something that was going to be ours. Then the graphic artist kind of worked with some of the iconography again with Principal Frazier, just to kind of get what pieces did we want to pull from some of the things that we were seeing. And then in that we came up with 6 different designs that we brought to the school so that we could break it down into 3 that we we're going to build out more thoroughly. And that's what you're going to see tonight. This is a little bit of the timeline. We started in April in the last school year. We had an initial meeting with Bradley where we went over for quite a bit of time looking at the things we wanted to do. Then we actually had a Zoom meeting where we invited all the staff to come to be able to look at and help us drill down a little bit further. Throughout the summer, we've been working on it, giving revisions throughout to get feedback. And then here we are now for where we're hoping to get an approval. In the initial staff review, they have 45 pretty regular staff that there are some that just do single classes. But from their staff list of 45, we had 32 attend the Zoom meeting, which was really cool. It seems like everybody was really involved in the process. It was an optional meeting. In the survey, we got 37 respondents back that have been giving us feedback throughout, which is really, again, a really cool representation of the staff. Then we have taken this to the Communications and Advocacy Board Committee so that they could get a look on it and get some feedback as we moved along. And here we are. You can see how it's all building to this big moment. So here we go. This is the first option done in both grayscale and black and white. So the shield iconography was one that we were picking up from other adult schools, gives kind of a traditional sort of a feel, a sense of authority. The San Leandro to kind of personalize it to where we are to keep that brand recognition, that name out there. And then these were the icons that were chosen based on the courses that Principal Frazier and the staff brought up. Like these are the ones where we get a lot of interest. So those are why we're focusing on that. They do a lot more than that, but these are the ones where they get a lot of interest. So that was option 1. Option 2. So the fire in this is an image that was getting pulled out of a lot of the district logos, and the staff like this power of learning, the burst, kind of like that feeling of learning. And a torch with the idea of like you're carrying on a tradition, like you're moving through a process. It's not something that's ever done. And then the circle kind of ties it into the district logo, which was something that they were looking for as well. That was option 2. Here's option 3. So on this one, we've got, again, the circle, inclusiveness, nod to the district logo. Again, pulling out the popular courses that the staff has identified that they wanted to highlight. And then they were looking for something very simple, very easy, with the idea that that's what learning is, right? It's just easy, just got to take the first step. So that is all of them on one way for you to take a look at it. There's printouts for you to take a look at as well. You'll notice on here that it has San Leandro Adult and Career Education Center. We're not looking for a name change tonight. That was just something they had looked at, possibly in the future, shifting over to something that is a little bit broader of an explanation of what the school actually is. So that's on there just for us to kind of take a look at. You'll notice it's the same on all of them. And so with that, I will take any questions that you may have. And again, thank you to the staff. That's just been like a huge labor of love for them to get to this point.
Thank you, Trustee Gonzalez.
Yeah, when we saw them in communications, they were blue. And so so we're seeing them as black today. Was the intention for them to be blue or to be black, or what's the intention on color?
Thank you for asking that. So they have chosen a color scheme that's blue and gray. Within that, there's some variations of how deep of a blue or how light of a gray, which is something that we could talk about later, but we wanted to make sure that it's really clear that what we're looking at is the logo here. And we're not looking at orange and red, and we're not looking at wildly different color schemes. It's something that we can work with the school to decide.
Trustee Oshinsky.
Thank you for your presentation. So which one is their favorite one?
Ooh, I knew someone was going to ask that. It's up to you if you'd like to know what the preferences were.
Yes.
The preference from the school was option number 3. And I believe that from the communications group, the option 3 was also an option. They were open to all of them, I would say, but that was the one that they tended to lean towards.
Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Tate.
I was gonna ask the same exact thing trustee Oshinsky asked, but I will add to that. Is there a huge difference in the grayscale versus the black and white as far as cost or anything?
No, they're the same. So when we get it, and it'll be the same with color as well. I mean, the color cost would come if you were printing in color costs more, but grayscale and black and white just depends on which the layout that you're using it for.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Prola.
Am I on? Okay. All right. On the option 3, you have the gray scale and the black and white scale. Was there a preference that the staff had?
Those would be used in different circumstances.
Oh, so you could
Whatever the design layout required, if it was something that would work better where you wanted to kind of be in the background, then you would have a grayscale one. And then if you wanted something where it's the primary thing that you're using, you do it in black and white. It's just a little bit more of an emphasis. So sometimes in the background of like slide presentations,
No, I
you'll
get
put
it. It's
something
just
in
I really
grayscale.
can't both of them, and I couldn't decide which one I like best. So,
Luckily, you don't have to choose. You just have to choose option 1, 2, or 3. You don't have to choose between black and white and grayscale.
Trustee Sheridan.
Actually, I had a similar question. It was whether or not option 3 was the grace. Look different. Other than that, it appears that, you see between option 1 and option 3, same logos used so that there's an emphasis on it.
Mhm.
So I tend to.
Thank you.
All right, last call for questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into, there is no public hearing, so we'll go into reports. First up, correspondence.
Clerk's report for 8/23. August 4th, healthcare service response to viruses. August 5th, CIO dive, why flex works matters. August 6th, weekender, 5 best practices to respond to viruses. August 6th, Cal Matters, the week's top stories. Annual conference request for proposals for presentations. August 9th, higher ed dive, hybrid learning. August 10th, CIO dive, don't get stuck in tech decisions. August 11th, California Consulting announces the California Department of Education work. August 12th, Michelle Mayfield, upcoming events. August 13th, DA Web seminars, learn best practices and gain real-time solutions for K. August 15th, K-12 dive, best practices to expand access. August 15th, Lozano Smith, client news brief. August 16th, Alameda County Dave Brown's biweekly newsletter. August 17th, Chamber of Commerce Around the Town, issue 66. August 18th, Alameda County Health, the CEO Chronicles. August 19th, San Leandro USD Communication, August update, welcome back to school. August 19th, California Attorney General DOJ weekly newsletter. August 20th, CIO dive, how to set up a home office. August 22nd, today on Newsella, President Biden signs massive climate and healthcare legislation. August 22nd, classified vacancy. August 22nd, ACOE tickets on sale for Teacher of the Year event, which is on Thursday, October 6th. And August 23rd, K through 12 dive tips for building capacity for your SEL program, free workbook. That concludes my clerk's report.
Thank you very much. Next up, student board member report.
Thank you all. As of August 17th, 2000, I've resumed school back at San Leandro High School specifically. And since school has resumed, I've noticed an very good improvement in teachers. I'd like to really recognize the staff tonight, especially developing or helping develop the social and emotional growth with students. Teachers giving a sense of vulnerability in the classroom, which really betters that connection between the student and the teacher, and getting that sort of relationship needed to better the student's ability to trust the teacher in case of, asking for help in class, learning about or asking for further assistance with anything. And with that being said, I think it's imperative that we have that relationship established, and our staff members are doing a really excellent job of ensuring that the student has a sense of comfortability in the classroom, a sense of trust, and knowing that if they go and ask for help, they can receive the help that they are looking for.
Great, thank you. And again, from all of us, welcome to the board. Okay, moving up, union representative reports. I don't see any of our union representatives in the audience, so we'll go ahead and move to board committee reports. First up, communication advocacy.
I think it's the first time I'm going to say we didn't have a meeting.
Great, thank you. Moving into curriculum and policy.
Our next meeting will be September 26th.
Thank you. Facilities and technology.
Well, I'm not gonna get off so easy. We did have a meeting, August 10th. It was probably the largest agenda that I have chaired for an F&T meeting. Started off with a technology update from Assistant Superintendent of Information Services, Larry Simon. We did have some discussions and updates regarding the high school courtyard, McKinley structure, East Bay Mud timeline over at Bancroft, an update on the project at the high school for the new gym. And we discussed also the district office and IT space update, and had a presentation from Dr. Collins on the bonds series B and C. Did have about 2 pages worth of consent. You'll see some of those items on our consent calendar today. Most of them were notice of completions, which we have some on our agenda for today. We had a full page of change orders, which was quite lengthy. About 2 pages of action items. A few of the smaller items are under our consent calendar for today, but we will not be taking action under F&T on any of these items at today's meeting. And then we wrapped up our meeting with a stroll to the shade structure at Madison. And I mean, to look at that thing and just get underneath that and have a feel for the size of that structure, and you look at the tables and you loosely count how many kids, you can easily put 2 classrooms worth of kids under that shade structure. It was just, I mean, these kids are going to have a place to escape the sun, to enjoy eating outside, and thrilled that we're doing it at all of the sites. And that is it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was going to say, this is the longest consent calendar I think I've ever seen, with double letters. I love it. Okay, moving into finance.
Our next meeting will be September the 7th.
Thank you. Drug, alcohol, tobacco, education, date committee.
Our next meeting is September 7th.
All right. Thank you very much. Next is the consent calendar. Trustees, are there any polls from the consent tonight? Okay,
I'd like to move the consent.
thank you.
I'll second.
All right, consent's been moved by trustee Sheridan, seconded by trustee Oshinsky. Please vote. All right, that goes 7+1. Moving to the next page over to our first action item of the night. Item 1A, select and approve a new San Leandro Adult School logo. Now, trustees, would you like to, I'll hit it to you since you were starting.
Yeah, so I will move logo number 3.
Okay. Okay, logo number 3 has been moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Sheridan. Is there any discussion? All right, trustee Oshinsky.
Yeah, I just want to state, I remember I've changed my position on this. I remember in the past when we voted on logos, I know it's really important that's their logo and they should have the decision. That I don't really think our opinions matter in this because they're the ones that have to look at it every day, not us. So I definitely am in favor of number 3.
Trustee Sheridan.
Yeah, I'd like to make the same sentiment. I remember going through another logo for food services. Stuck it as to my own preference rather than the people who work in that department and the pride that they show for that department. So I'd like to support them as well in this department.
Trustee Tate.
Share the same sentiment. I actually supported the other logos, but it takes a lot of time and effort to go through this process. And I've sat on communications also with the logos. And I think it's important to support the staff or the team that's going through all of that effort and for us to just value their time and effort in selecting the one that they'd like to select. So I support 3.
Trustee Prola. So, all right, walk me through that one. Where are you? Okay, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Yes, we've got a second. So it was moved by, and correct me if I'm wrong, trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Oshinsky. Sheridan, sorry, perfect. Gonzalez, Sheridan. Okay, if there are no more questions, comments, I will go ahead. Please vote. Great. That is 7+1. Thank you very much. Moving into, and let's see. Now that
It's gonna be a long couple months.
now that we have just items that we can breeze through, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. If there's any discussion, I'll be looking in the queue. All right. Item 1B, agreement for nursing program between San Leandro Adult School and New Haven Unified School District / James Logan High School.
I'll move 1B.
I'll second.
It's been moved by trustee Oshinsky, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. Okay, that goes 7+1. Moving on to 1C, ATI agreement for nursing curriculum software at San Leandro Adult School.
I'll move 1C.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by, I see fingers in both directions, trustee Toledo. All right. Please vote. Thank you. That goes 7+1. Moving into 1D, contract addendum for assistant superintendent of business and operations.
I'll second.
Been moved by trustee Sheridan, seconded by trustee Oshinsky. All in favor? 7+1. Moving into 2, business and operations. 2A, food service catering van.
I'll move 2A.
Been moved by trustee Oshinsky, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. Great, that goes 7+1. Moving into 2B, resolution number 2241, resolution of the Board of Education of the San Leandro Unified School District authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds, election of 2020, Series B and Series C, EdTech bonds in the total, almost done. In the total combined aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $80 million and approving preliminary official statement, bond purchase agreement, and all related documents and actions. Say that faster twice. Great. It's been moved by trustee Prola, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. Thank you. That goes 7+1. Moving into 2C, food services outdoor seating purchase.
I'll move to C.
Perfect. It's been moved by trustee Oshinsky, seconded by trustee Tate. Please vote. 7+1. Thank you. Into 3, administrative services, 3A, adult school vocational nursing program job descriptions. It's been moved by trustee Tate, seconded by trustee Toledo. Please vote. Cool. All right, that goes 7+1. Moving into 3B, supervised internship agreement with the University of Massachusetts, MOU. Been moved by trustee Tate, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. That goes 7+1. Moving into category 4, educational services. 4A, adoption of the local control accountability plan and local indicators for 2022-2023.
I'll move 4A.
Been moved by trustee Oshinsky, seconded by trustee Sheridan. Please vote. All right, that goes 7+1. Moving into 4B, agreement between San Leandro Unified School District and Wellness Together Incorporated, a California nonprofit corporation for secondary crisis mental health specialists for 2022-23. Who moved? Prola? All right. Prola, okay, it's been moved by trustee Prola, seconded by trustee Tate. Please vote. Goes 7+1. Moving into approval, sorry about that, 4C, approval of contract proposal between Alevo and San Leandro Unified School District Middle Schools for social emotional learning program for 2022-2023. Been moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Toledo. Please vote. It's been moved 7+1. Thank you. Moving into 4D, approval of Heinemann and Okapi Educational Publishing for guided reading for TK to 5 elementary schools.
I'll second.
Been moved by trustee Tate, seconded by trustee Oshinsky. Please vote. That goes 7+1. Moving into item 4E, approval of single plan for student achievement, SIPSA 2022-2023. Been moved by trustee Sheridan, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. Like to ask clarifying questions? Sure. Our student board member would like to ask a clarifying question of staff.
What is the single plan for student achievement?
No.
So what would that be like?
Yeah, go ahead, Sanal.
The single plan for student achievement is a budget document that outlines the needs of the school, because the principal and the school site council at all of our Title I schools, but we do it at every school, even though we don't need to, look at all the needs from the community, and then they make a budget and they allocate all the resources they'll need to for a year, and then it has to be approved by the local governing board.
Great, so then that would go 7+1. All right, thank you, y'all. We went through that quick. Moving through cabinet reports. Superintendent, Dr. Mike McLaughlin.
Go. Well, welcome aboard, Maya. It's good to have you here. It was a wonderful meeting yesterday. She got a lot of energy. Boy, I love it. I love the energy coming from you, and I think she's going to give us some great insights from the high school this year. So we're very excited. Start out with Rocky wanted me to give a quick report. COVID still here. Since the start of school, we have about 30 cases of students and 10 adults, staff members. So it's still there. I think the turnaround time's not, I think we're moving through this, but we're not going to have him do a full blown report until, we see some changes with the guidance and stuff like that. So I'll kind of keep you updated and Friday report, stuff like that, but still on our website, things like that. But I think we'll know more as the fall continues here. Okay, some good stuff. Start of school. It's been like I've messaged all of you, it's been a really good start. And when I say from the very beginning, from our retreat having all our administrators sit down. We really spent 2 days of really diving through a lot of details and information because, last year they had so much to do. They were covering classes and, so we didn't really have we tried not to have as much PD, try to just get through the year. So this was a key year for us to set some tone and get going. So I just want to thank all the department heads and the cabinet for really organizing some of the best content I've ever seen for principals to get them prepared and directors. It was just very thorough all the way up and down. I want to thank Ms. Moss. We'll be thanking her a lot because this is going to be probably one of the busiest years she has because she's got ribbon cuttings, she's got retreats, she's got new names of schools and just logos. You wait to see the superintendent logo coming out. It's going to be fabulous stuff coming your way. The barbecue, another great event. I love the barbecue and I want to thank, of course, Keziah and her team, which I don't know who it involves. Michelle Mayfield, everybody, they get that swag ready, coming up with shirts and all the stuff that it just sets a tone with our teachers and staff when they come to that event, that they feel wanted. We build a community of the school. It's like we've talked about before. It's a culture we're trying to build and they're used to it and they feel good. It's a good way to kick off the year. And a big shout out to Clell, because again, we always ask, we say we can go outside and have this catered so you guys can be appreciated as staff, but they always want to show off, what great food. There was the Impossible slider I heard about and all kinds of stuff. So I'm too busy doing this, so I never get to eat, but another great day. Like I said, and I'm looking forward to next year where we can really enjoy our new quad at the high school and spread out a little bit. And that'll be exciting to show off some of our facilities. So good job, everybody getting to bar. Thank you guys for coming, those that can make it and serve. And again, hopefully you saw smiles. And that's what we saw the first day of school is compared to, the barbecue. Compared to last year's barbecue and this year, you saw more smiles on people's faces. I think you saw more energy, people excited to be back. There was a lot of still angst last year, people. So I was excited to see that. I was a little nervous last year. I was walking around looking at people's eyes and, whoa, what's going to happen? And I didn't feel that this year. I felt a better energy. And you felt that the first day of school. The first day of school, walking around, seeing everybody, there was a lot of smiles. And I want to thank the facility group. The elementary schools who, went out and slurried all the playgrounds and put all this new color. It just makes such a difference when the kids come that first day and see the brightness and new basketball hoops painted and stuff like that. So I know we talk, some people don't think facilities helps with education. It does, because it builds an environment where kids want to be and parents feel that their kids are in a good school. So I was pleased. I know that when Kevin walked around and cabinet, like, whoa, it just hits you like a wave when you walked on campus. So that was a big start. And all the construction that was going on, I didn't feel people nervous about it. Thank you, Aaron. Your whole team was out there making sure they did as much as they can. I'll thank the contractors. I felt like it was, I was never nervous, Aaron, ever. Not once was I nervous. It was going to be fine. So I had a morale, new administrators. It's nice to meet all the new administrators. And I was quite pleased the first day. We went and hit all the schools and seeing their confidence and energy. You would have thought they'd been there for a long time. Okay. And so that made me feel good, because, with this era of changeover and personnel, that makes you nervous. They got a new leader at the school and I was pleased. We were walking around, they're doing their thing. And so no worries. And then finally the new teachers, I always call them before their orientation, and it's just awesome to hear their voice. They're excited. They're a little nervous. Like I say, every time I call them, they're like, you're calling me? Why, Superintendent? And I said, no, we'll welcome you. We're excited to have you. I have a nice list. I know what school they're going to be at. Just, it's nice to hear back from that. They appreciate that. And so we're going to build on that. I think next year I want to get the board involved, so they get to see everybody. So we got some ideas that we're going to, we're always looking to change it up. So you guys will hear more about as the school year goes. And then finally, a little update on the bike lane project. We were all kind of involved in this. I've had meetings with the city, with the mayor, and of course the city manager. We're going to make a huge commitment to communicate in a deeper level, so we're all on the same page. Because basically my my comment to them is anything that touches a school, I need to be involved. So I can help guide and give advice. So when at the end, there's a great project, not a project that no one knows about. So we're going to keep in touch. I did find out that nothing's happening for 3 years. You know, these are just tests going on, but Kevin, I, and Aaron will be involved. We're going to get our own personal review of it. Because again, there's opportunities for us to look at some of our projects and how do those things, you know, work together to not just have this project be a greater project, you know, that really provides not only safety for our students to be dropped off and picked up, but also bike safety. So those things can coexist together. And I think if we get all our heads together, we can have awesome projects. So I'm happy about the end result. You know, and I think as we move forward with the city, I'm very encouraged that we need to work together, you know, and so if we do, we can move mountains. But so that's the update on that. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. But we're going to do a non-political meeting first and let us that deal with the school stuff and city stuff first to see where we can be. And then you guys can go to whatever meeting you want and talk about it. But, you know, it's a good idea. It's just, I think if you don't understand how we pick up and drop off kids, then you wouldn't know, right? Unless your kids go to school. So now that they hear that, they'll, whoa, okay, yeah. You know, it's a busy town. You know, there's more and more traffic and more people driving crazy. So we got to protect our kids and bicyclists. So we'll figure it out. And that's it for me. Great start, everybody. And again, I'm excited, man. This thing's moving. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. Moving into Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Sonal Patel.
Thank you. Good evening. Ed Services had a great launch with our new teachers, organizing the new teacher orientation with lots of carousels to get them started and going. It was really, really wonderful. And it got to continue on to Monday, August 15th, when the principals held their staff meetings. You know, we got to see everyone at the barbecue, but just for y'all to know that behind the scenes, they were in staff meetings in professional development that focused on topics such as fostering strong family and community partnerships, differentiating for universal success, using universal design for learning, seeing the whole child, trauma-informed practices, project-based learning, and assessing for learning, which is a continuation of our grading for equity work. And then that Wednesday, first day of school, the whole Ed Services division, Joanne Clark, Celine Liu, Colleen Palia, and their crew were out at sites, just, you know, supporting, welcoming new students and families, ensuring folks had the materials that they needed. So I just want to give them a big congratulations for being all hands on deck and making sure that it was a nice start to the year. They're already just kind of visiting with departments and teachers and grade level teams and instructional leadership teams to find out what they would like to do for our next professional learning day, which we're excited to hopefully host in person, back and feed everyone again on Monday, October 24th, so that we can go deeper into our strategic plan. This year, it was fun to visit Washington as we were able to welcome our first 5th grade dual language immersion class. So we have officially hit the mark of having a K-5 DLI TWIBI, which is two-way bilingual immersion school. We're just super proud, and it's making us work because now those 5th graders are going to leave and we need to make sure that we have all the assessments in place. So we just want to give a big shout out to our DLI teachers at Washington Elementary School for continuing to pave the way for us. They're piloting new assessments so that we can measure what students really know in both languages. And they're working with us to think about what steps we need to put in place at the middle school level so that we can continue that development of English, Spanish and English proficiency. And just to know, Jefferson, right around the corner, they are now K2 in DLI. And the next stop is looking at Halkeen in our eventual, Mandarin or Cantonese immersion program that we want to also have. Last, I just want to invite you all to know that the first Dlac meeting will be in person at the Barbara Lee Center for Health and Wellness. We are so excited to welcome our families back in person to work with us on how to continue to do what's working well in English learner programming and continue to learn from them what we can do to improve. We're excited to welcome them back. And the first meeting is on August 31st at 6 o'clock, to which will be put in the board report so that you can stop by if you want to say hi. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Next is Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, Dr. Zarina Zaripati.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. McLaughlin. We and Administrative Services have had like a really just fun and exciting start to the new year. But really the division has been, we started this year just showing some really positive trends in filling the vacancies that was at the top of our mind, filling the vacancies that we had for the beginning of this year. So as of now, all of our elementary schools are fully staffed with the exception of 3. And we're working on filling those last 4 positions across those schools. We have also continued to fill our vacancies at our secondary schools. And at this point, we have 6 positions to fill across 3 of our sites. At the same time, our recruitment efforts to fill our paraeducator vacancies are going to be expanding to our school sites. We're going to be visiting our coffee chats, with the hopes of recruiting some of our parents maybe into some of these positions, as well as partnering with the counseling center at Chabot College and Merritt College, and adding a new recruiting platform known as Handshake to recruit specifically for nurses, which we are still seeking one of our nurses. As far as our expanded learning opportunity program and ACEs, we are up and running at all of our 8 sites. So this just means that we can offer more after-school programming at our sites, and each adding space for some of our earliest learners in kindergarten. Many of our sites have been already filled to capacity, and with our partnership with Boys and Girls Club, it's been tremendous in terms of helping us launch this across all of our 8 sites, our elementary and middle schools. And we, appreciate really our longstanding partnerships that we build in the community. And this Saturday on the 27th, we'll be at our 8th annual Nike shoe giveaway in Marina Square, which really supports our McKinney-Vento families. And so they can gear up some new shoes for the school year. And then finally, we have been spending a lot of time cabinet closely monitoring our daily enrollment to account for all the students who have shown up in this first week of school. And I really want to give a shout out to all of our CSEA support staff and our site administrators, because they've done a phenomenal job really of calling all the families one by one to remind them that, hey, we are back in session. And they're doing that so that we can have an accurate count to see where everything is landing. And at the moment, we can report that most of our schools have just a few dozen students that have not shown up yet that we anticipated coming. Some of our schools have just, as little as 3 students that they're trying to find, where they're at and calling them. And the most, some of our bigger sites have maybe 20 or so students that they're trying to reach and calling every day to find out, are you coming? Or if you're here, what's going on? And so we've been really concentrating on that aspect. So we'll continue to do that until we find all the kiddos that were supposed to show up. And we'll continue that until we're pretty satisfied. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Next up is Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, Dr. Kevin Collins.
Good evening one more time. We're feverishly working on the close of our 2021-22 books as we prepare for our upcoming Finance Committee meeting and our September board meeting for consideration of our unaudited actuals. We're also continuing to respond to our auditor and to provide requested documentation, particularly around our 21-22 attendance. At the same time, the business staff is working to support the opening of school and train new office staff and principals on the use of our financial system and district procedures. With the approval of Resolution 22-41 for issuance of Series B and C, we will begin working on issuance procedures and with, again, an expected close date of early October. And finally, I'd like to thank the board for approving my contract addendum this evening and for your vote of confidence. That means a lot to me. So thank you.
Thank you. Moving into board representative reports, Alameda County School Boards Association. All right. Assistant Superintendent of Information Services, Larry Simon.
Thank you all. I'm sure we'll get it agendas next time. So the start of school is always exceptionally busy for any service department, and technology is not an exception. This year has been exceptionally busy with many summer projects coming to fruition, including the rollout of all the new copiers district-wide and the larger project that directly impacts the classrooms, the return of Chromebooks to every classroom directly so that students didn't have to take their devices back and forth. Tech staff have been really hard at work just responding to all these support requests from our teachers and our staff and trying to get everyone up to, the right place they need to be at. In addition to that, we just released to families last week a survey so they can start signing up for our Chromebook to Home program, where families and students can take a secondary optional Chromebook home and keep it there, not have to take it back and forth. So I've started collecting that data from families, and we're getting ready to roll that program out in the next week. It's getting the devices out to schools to go out to families and going. We have about 700 or 800 signups so far, so it's looking really, really good and excited about that moving forward. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, and my apologies. Moving into board representative reports, Alameda County School Boards Association.
Our next meeting will be October 20th. It'll be virtual. You should have all received your Eventbrite invitations. I hope to see you there. Dennis Myers from California School.
Thank you. In area regional occupational program. I have no report tonight, although we met a couple weeks ago now, super short. We just had to approve one finance item and then we're out. And we're working on rescheduling September for reason of conflict between board members' schedules all over the place, even our superintendent. So we're looking at rescheduling. I'll get that date to you as soon as possible. Next meeting, more likely. Moving into Mid Alameda County SELPA.
Next meeting will be September 19th virtually, and I will report out after that happens.
Thank you. Next up, City Disaster Preparedness Council.
Yeah, I have my fingers crossed for maybe a meeting in September. I'll let you know.
Thank you. Okay, future business. Trustees, are there any items for consensus? I'm looking and I see Trustee Oshinsky.
Real quick, this is not in deference to anyone or any past present, but whenever we have presentations, can we get the slideshows in advance? I just think for me personally, I like to process the information and then I can ask really intelligent questions. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think that you already are doing this, but I wanted to talk about the food services and the fact that they did such an incredible job at the picnic that I would like for the board to be involved in doing something for them special. And, I'm not sure what that looks like because they're at different school sites but I do think that it would be nice for us as a board, since we serve the food to the other staff members, that we also show our appreciation to the food service staff as well.
All right, just looking around, I see nods around the board.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, I'll do a last.
Evelyn just volunteered to cook it all.
All right.
Sounds good. I like it.
Last call for consensus. Okay. Thank you, trustees. Moving into additional suggestions and comments from board members, board reports. Trustee Prola.
I really don't have anything to say, except thank you very much for having an efficient meeting. And I would like to compliment Larry, because Larry goes to all kinds of trouble to keep my computer going and keep me knowing what I'm doing. So I really appreciate it. He's a good guy. Keep him on the staff.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that did such a spectacular job with the starter school. My inbox was full of positive emails on the first day of school, which usually people only email to complain. And so it was a refreshing new start to a school year. And I think having the facilities look as beautiful, even Bancroft that's still in transition, just having all of the facilities have such love and care, and having the teachers excited and the principals welcoming made a huge impact. And so it just felt like a complete redo after COVID. So, thank you to all the staff, all the people that made that happen. And so it was refreshing to have a blown up email list of positives.
Thank you. Trustee Toledo.
I would also like to echo that excitement. I mean, I saw my sister get prepared for her first day of school, and that's always really exciting. She asked me what to expect for 7th grade, and all I could really say is, I mean, the air feels the same. You're really just gonna be walking a little bit more. But other than that, you know your way around a lot more. So it's really exciting to see her be excited and be greeted by the new admin at the site. And other than that, I also had the chance to attend the Boys and Girls Club event this past week, and that was really great. I also really enjoyed seeing people who used to work at the district, and it just seems like we're a very interconnected community, and that's really nice to see for San Leandro. And I also start school tomorrow, so yay!
All right, thank you. Good luck on the first day. Trustee Sheridan.
Well, my comments are along the line of Trustee Gonzalez comments, except I don't get the emails with all the positives. I see the negatives, and there were none this year, so I want to thank staff. I mean, to me, that's indicative of the preparation that went into the year, the rollout, and the success of kicking off. What is this? Our first fall kickoff in a number of years because of COVID, and to kick it off successfully. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to another school year. I want to welcome Amaya Proctor, and I want to say congratulations to President Aguilar on your bid for another term of school board unopposed. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Tate.
I want to say it looks like we are off to a good school year. I've seen people that are really excited to be back in person. The barbecue was really exciting. People were really happy. And I was happy to be there. I got there a little late and they put me to work right away. I mean, I couldn't even stop and mingle with folks. They just did the thing to work. So, but it was fine though. It was really great. But I haven't heard anything negative either. I actually talked to one of my neighbors and his son is in the dual immersion at Washington. And he said his son is so excited and just happy to be in school. And, it brought back memories when my kids were in school at Washington. So I'm just happy that we're off to a great start and it will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Oshinsky.
I too want to welcome Amaya to the board. I think you're about to start a new journey. This gentleman sitting to your left is a really good example of where sitting on the being a student board member can lead you. So, bend his ear. He has a lot to say, I'm sure. I want to personally thank the superintendent cabinet for your kind gesture with the passing of my PD. That meant a lot to me and it went a really long way. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Thank you for such a smooth start to the school year. As my colleagues have said, it's great to know that we're back in business. I'm looking forward to the groundbreaking at Lincoln. Will there be hard hats? Glitter ones?
Huh?
Glitter ones?
Well done.
Your own one.
All right.
Adopted logo.
Lead Gala on the 16th. And I also want to extend my congratulations to both trustees Aguilar and trustee Sheridan on retaining your seats.
Thank you. All right, I'm up. So I've heard nothing but great things about the beginning of the school year. So I'm echoing all of the sentiment of a start to a really great year. And I've not only heard from teachers, other staff, but I've heard from students too, who are really just happy to be back. Smiles on faces is what I've been seeing. And that's a theme for me every year I've been on this board. As long as I see smiles on faces, I know we're doing good. So I'm very happy with that. Let's see some personal things. Day 4 of year 1 of teaching, and I'm here. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the barbecue because of new teacher orientation. So yes, getting prepared to get my kids in the classroom. I have what Mike calls the bug. I am just so excited to be in the classroom, starting to identify problem areas that I can address. And it's just such a polarizing thing in my life that's really changing, I think, my perspective on the world, and I'm loving every second of it. So for all of those people listening who could possibly be new teachers, it's definitely a journey in which I would encourage to go down. See other things. I think I'll end on a congratulations to Trustee Sheridan for retaining his seat. I know myself, I'm excited for another 4 years to be able to serve this community. It's always an honor. And I think with that as well, another welcome to our student board member, Amaya Proctor. We're excited to have you. Yes, you can talk my ear off and ask me any questions. And I think that goes for the rest of the board too. Ask away. We're
Isn't it
here.
nice to see him finally go for something? Right? He's always just sitting around, right? Waiting for things to happen. So proud of this guy, man. We need another good teacher. So.
All right.
Just wish it was my district.
Well, I just love serving the San Leandro School Board very much. So there you go. All right. Thank you, trustees. Moving into first announcement, regular board meeting is next Tuesday, September 13th. And trustees, who would like to move for adjournment?
I'll move for adjournment.
All right. Adjournment has been moved by trustee Oshinsky, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. Cool. 7+1. We are adjourned. Good night, everybody. Oh, yeah.
Plan?